PCN is back with local stories from Duxbury, Kingston, Pembroke, and Plymouth. This week we'll take you to Alden Park's Kentucky Derby charity event, and we stop into the South Shore Folk Music Club's 40th anniversary celebration.
We head to Kingston for an electric car show, and we visit the Pathfounder women's exhibit at Pilgrim Hall Museum.
We learned about neonatal addiction and support help from an event called To the Moon and Back, and we meet the milkman of the South Shore.
Our guest is a holistic nutritional consultant and will give us information on healthy eating. It's going to be a great show, and we begin at the races. Each year, Alden Park holds a fun-filled charity event that's all about the Kentucky Derby. They close to the public and redecorate the whole restaurant. A charity is chosen that receives the proceeds, and this year, Plymouth 400 held the spot. PCN stopped by to see the fun.
This is our 6th annual Kentucky Derby party that we're having. We do it for charity every year. It came about in a roundabout sort of ways. I went to the Triple Crown 7 years ago. Loved the events, loved the dress up, loved the atmosphere with it, and I came back and I'm like, this is a great event that no one else is doing. I think it's something that we could tie to a charity that would get a lot of the community involved with it and behind it, and we do a good thing with something that is unique and fun for everyone. So we've been doing this for a number of years. I like to say we're the originators of it around here. We've done very well with it. We shut down for the day, and it's all about raising money and helping out the charities that we're tied to for that particular year. And this year it happens to be the Plymouth 400, and it's a charity that's near and dear to us because it's the community. It's turning 400 years next year, and we want to help do our part and raise money for that.
Well, you know, we are very honored that Alden Park chose us this year to receive the proceeds of this event. It's a fundraiser for Plymouth 400, and we have an amazing amount of silent auction, raffle items, unbelievable gifts like luggage and trips and special types of experiences.
I tell people, put on your biggest hats, put on your dresses, your seersuckers, suits, your bow ties, your vests, whatever. Dress up. And a lot of people are hesitant in doing that, but when they do it and they see everyone around them that get involved with it just the same, it really, you see everyone just like really motivated and really tied into the event. I want them to walk away happy. Want them to walk away feeling like they've done a good thing helping a charity. Some of them will win some great prizes out of this event, and I want them to remember us. Like I said, you know, it's a small world, and I want people to know that, oh, Alden Park's Kentucky Derby party is the party to come to for watching this event.
Founded in 1978, the South Shore Folk Music Club has entertained our community with local, national, and internationally known folk musicians. This nonprofit, all-volunteer educational organization highlights traditional and contemporary folk music. This year, they are celebrating their 40th anniversary, and PCN stopped in to hear more.
We're here tonight to celebrate the 40th anniversary of South Shore Folk Music Club as an organization. And we're celebrating with a children's concert with Ellis Paul this afternoon, as well as an evening concert later on.
Wow, very cool. A couple of years.
We're bringing together some of the people who were instrumental in setting this club up. It's a big celebration.
How many people are we? A lot.
We brought out memorabilia from the club, original hurdy-gurdies back from 30, 40 years ago.
The hurdy-gurdy was our South Shore Folk Music Club newsletter and performance calendar, events calendar. They would give me a list of who was going to be there in any given month, and then I would think about it and I would draw the whole thing out like that. I have to say that the hurdy-gurdy is probably the magnum opus of my art work in my life. You know, I can't really be modest. They really are great. And then some of them I drew caricatures of people that were in the folk music club. Did it freehand and free wild mind, and they gave me total control at first, and woo, it was like a big fun thing.
What I really like about our club is that we have a tier of performance. We have, of course, our concert level performers throughout the year, but we also hold coffee houses that include an opener, a feature, and open mic. So there's a really wide array of opportunity for performance here for people both in our community and for us to bring people at the national level, like Ellis Paul.
Well, I feel like I kind of grew up here, really. Like I came here to do open mics in the 90s, early 90s, and that was 25, 30 years ago, and so this place has provided a stage for me to grow and see other musicians play. I did a show here once with Chris Smither and watched him play, and Bill Morrissey, and a lot of my heroes coming up, and so, for them to keep on inviting me back and to be a part of its history is a real honor, and I'm super happy to be here. And it's amazing that it's 40 years old. I mean, it's middle-aged now.
It's amazing this lasted 40 years. I love it. I love coming back. I can't come every week. I'll come a couple weeks a year, but it's incredibly powerful. It started in the studios of WATD. Sat in the back room, they were making up lists of people they wanted to see and stuff like that, and we all pitched in.
And Dick wanted to start a concert series. So they tried to, think about how they were going to start this. And Dick looked around for halls, and the first hall was in Marshfield Hills at the Trinity Episcopal Church. And we started with concerts and coffee houses. Since my family were amateur musicians and my kids sang, they wanted to have an opportunity for not just showcasing professionals, but to have people in the neighborhood have a place to play and get exposure and get better, and also open mics. So we started a whole series. Very first, I'd say 9 months, my husband invited the audience back to our house at the end of every event, and that's where a lot of the volunteers came from. So people would sit around and play music after the show was over, and so people got excited. They met people, became friends, and volunteered to do sound and any of the other jobs. Somebody went out and bought chairs for the hall, and yeah, it was like a family. Yeah, it still is.
It's really such a treasure to have the ability to participate in a group that's had so much history and has had such a strong presence for so long.
The New England Electric Auto Association recently visited the Kingston Public Library, and PCN was able to catch up with some of the members.
PCN met up with the New England Electric Auto Association back in the summer of 2017 at the Kingston Library. Back then, the organization had about 600 members, and there were about 13 different electric cars on the road. The NEEAA visited Kingston again this May. In the time since our last story, their membership has doubled, and there are 14 different automakers selling 24 different models of electric vehicles.
Early on, no one was making electric cars, so most of our members had to build their own. And in the last few years, we've switched from proof of concept to promoting adoption of electric vehicles. And we hold meetups like this about every 2 weeks all over New England. We're finding that the interest and the knowledge about electric vehicles is increasing quite a bit. And we're mostly working on giving people test drives. Very satisfyingly, we have almost half our members are women, which is really exciting for us because they tend to go with cars that are practical and proven, which is really satisfying for us to know that our electric cars are being perceived that way.
This Tesla Model S owner explains some of the benefits to driving electric cars.
One of the clear benefits of electric vehicle is cost of operation. Although you pay a little bit more for the car, the cost to operate this car is very cheap. It's costing me, now I have a solar roof on my house, so it's not really costing me much. I mean, my electric bill is zero year-round, and that includes running my car. So my cost to run this car is relatively inexpensive. But before I had the solar, it was costing me about $500 to $600 a year in electricity costs extra to run this car. But the beauty about it is you don't have there's no oil changes, there's no transmission fluids. You pretty much just have to rotate the tires maybe once in a while. And with Tesla, they tend to upgrade a lot of their features in the car through software upgrade.
What's coming next for electric cars?
The biggest thing about electric cars is advancements in battery technology. Tesla, I've actually gotten the privilege to get an opportunity to go out and visit the Gigafactory out in Nevada. And they've got an impressive process on how they assemble the batteries and battery packs. Tesla's a little bit different. They use a different chemistry, unlike the other electric cars. They use what they call an NCA chemistry, which stands for nickel, cobalt, aluminum chemistry. The NCA chemistry tends to be of a higher energy density. And so part of the reasons why Tesla went this approach is they really believed in a fully electric powered car versus a plug-in hybrid. So a plug-in hybrid, a more suitable battery chemistry for a plug-in hybrid would be a nickel, magnesium, cobalt because it has a higher cycle life. But you sacrifice a little energy density for it. Right now, the best battery technology is about 250 watts per kilogram. I see it going to potentially 300 watts per kilogram relatively shortly.
The New England Electric Auto Association is one of 30 electric auto clubs throughout the United States and Canada, and has been around for over 50 years. Reporting for PCN in Kingston, I'm Walter Cicchetti. Growing up, you might remember the neighborhood milkman delivering fresh milk to your doorstep. Well, you may be happy to know that milk delivery is back, and it's more popular than ever. PCN had the chance to ride with the milkman, Mike Onis, as he went about his day, and we also had the chance to tour Hornstra Farms, the farm where the milk is produced. Take a look.
If you grew up in the 50s and 60s, you probably remember getting milk delivered to your house by your friendly neighborhood milkman. What many people don't know is that this service still exists today. PCN had the chance to tag along with Mike Onis, a milkman who makes deliveries every week for Hornstra Farms.
I deliver approximately 120, 130 houses a day, and I'm right in the middle of my day. I've been with Hornstra Farms for about 10 years, proud to work for them, and they have a very good reputation in the community. That's one reason why I started working for them, and it's a big, happy family, and I really like that. We have a lot of milk here. Whole low-fat skim, you get cream, eggs, butter, whipped cream, cottage cheese, sour cream, yogurt, sliced cheese, iced tea and lemonade, starting up this time of year.
And as any milkman knows, you have to make friends with even the toughest customers.
People come up to me and say that, oh, I remember the milkman and all that stuff, but people don't have time anymore. That's a big thing. I mean, they're raising families, they're doing this and doing that. Soccer mom, baseball dad, and they don't need to think about what's in the fridge when they get home.
After riding in the truck with Mike, PCN was able to tour Hornstra Farms, a family-owned farm that has been producing and delivering milk since 1915.
That breaks up the fat so that it suspends in the milk, so the cream no longer floats to the top like some people have talked about. Old folks know about cream floating to the top of their milk, right? Hornstra Farms has been in my family over 100 years. It started in Hingham back in 1915, and we have continuously delivered milk door to door and to South Shore families.
Milk delivery it has highs and lows like the economy and everything. Right now it's really super steady and growing considerably all the time.
The local food movement has done a big thing. In 2009, we hadn't milked cows on the South Shore since the spring of '69 was when our cows left Hingham, and we started milking cows again here in the Norwell farm that we bought in 2009, and we started milking cows again in 11 here, and started bottling the milk in 13. And I think the local food movement is a big deal. Farm to table and better quality local food it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and people appreciate the quality. Everyone loves the milk box and the glass bottles, and seeing the milkman come to their home once a week. It's kind of a lot of nostalgia, and people enjoy the relationship I think they have with their milkman. It's they become a part of their family, really, the milkman. They just see you once a week, and really you become a part of their family.
Reporting for PACTV Community News, I'm Tiffany Phillips. Pilgrim Hall Museum's mission is to achieve worldwide awareness of the Pilgrim significance as an enduring narrative of America's founding. The museum has rotating exhibits showcasing aspects of this history, and now until March 2020, they are featuring Pathfounders, a digital archive of local women's history, activism, and experience. PCN met up with the executive director to get an inside look at this exhibit.
Pilgrim Hall Museum has a new exhibition that will be on display all through the year and into March of 2020, and it's all about the path-founding women of Plymouth. We're looking at 4 centuries of women's experience and their impact on their communities, right from the very start of the colony in the 17th century through the 18th, 19th, and even into the 20th century. And we feel that sharing these stories really changes our understanding of that history, both the history of the early colony, which is something Pilgrim Hall Museum is known for, but also the history of every generation after. And we feel that this is something that's important for people to connect with and understand. So what does it mean to think about women, for example, in early Plymouth colony? How does that change our view of the past? And one of the important things I think about early Plymouth is that it was settled by families. And all of the meaning that we gain from the experience of the people that lived through the hardships and the challenges of establishing a colony here, and also the hardships and challenges faced by the Wampanoag people who saw their thousands of years of way of life disrupted by this arrival. It really changes our understanding when we think about how women acted, reacted, and what happened to their lives during that time. So we're looking very specifically at some of the women and girls on the Mayflower. We're naming them. We feel they truly are path-founding women. And many of these women and girls had tremendous obstacles in their path. We're looking, for example, at the 5 teenage girls who are on the Mayflower. And girls survived at the most favorable rate of all of the colonists during the time of the early sickness in the colony. And we're asking questions about why do we think that is? Why did children survive at a better rate? We may find answers when we look at how difficult it was for the adult women who came on the Mayflower. They died at the least favorable rate. So we're speculating a caretaker situation, that the adult women gave their energy and their care to the men and to their children of the colony, and they took the brunt for it. They died at the greatest rate of mortality. But the men survived, 50% of them survived, and a higher percentage of the children survived. So we feel that their sacrifice was successful and had an impact on the survival of the colony. And then we look at those teenage girls. Out of the 5 teenage girls, 4 of them actually were orphaned and lost both parents and other family members. And yet they went on to become really the successful establishers of a very long lineage here in American society, with many millions of descendants tracing their history back to these young girls who survived this colony. We also recognize the need to balance that with stories about the Wampanoag people and the Wampanoag women and girls that were here in early Plymouth. And their stories and histories are sometimes harder for us to capture. They certainly were not anywhere near as well documented as the English women, and the English women weren't well documented either. So that's one of the challenges of doing this kind of history. So we took the approach of looking at that early Native history to look at some of the anonymous artifacts we have that we know were used by Native women here at various points in their long presence here on this landscape, and have really tried to isolate and look at these individual objects as something that were held and used by women of Wampanoag society to help their families. So it's a little bit of a different approach, and we hope we're fitting in the pieces of the puzzle to really understand more comprehensively the experience of women here in the colony.
To the Moon and Back is an advocacy nonprofit dedicated to supporting children born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, as well as the caregivers of these newborns. They held a conference in Plymouth with speakers that included behavioral health clinicians, teachers, nurses, pediatricians, early intervention providers, and early childhood educators. PCN was there to learn more about this growing issue in our country.
So the mission of To the Moon and Back is to support children born substance dependent or exposed and their families. And we're based out of Plymouth, Massachusetts, but we serve families throughout the Commonwealth. We're really excited to have the conference here in our hometown in Plymouth, where we've got just a great community collaboration, with PCO Hope, State Representative Matt Muratori, Plymouth County DA Tim Cruz, State Senator Vinnie DiMacedo, and just tons and tons of, pediatricians, behavioral health, everybody here. And we really wanted to have this here and to make sure that the information that as the head of this organization I was able to obtain from going to conferences and different collaborations to get it into the hands of the people that really needed it. So the families caring for these children and the frontline providers that are actually providing services to these families.
So we're trying to reach anyone that is working with a child substance exposed or caring for a child with substance exposure. So providers, professionals, parents, caregivers, foster and adoptive. We want to make sure that everyone who's involved in caring for these children have the tools that they need to support the best outcomes.
Now that the Nurture Superhero Care Package is part of To the Moon and Back, we hope that every Massachusetts family that's bringing home a child with neonatal abstinence syndrome will go home with a Nurture Superhero Care Package. The care packages are filled with items that help soothe the baby in those first couple months. And it's really used as an educational tool so that the moms and the other caretakers know how to help the baby through those first couple months. We have colic drops, we have Dr. Brown's bottles, there's diaper cream, a Woombi swaddle, so really all items that are very relevant for neonatal abstinence syndrome.
The rates have increased significantly, and currently in the South Coast region we have the highest number for the state. Which is really concerning because there are not enough supports and resources for the caregivers of these children. So we want to make sure through this event today we're able to get the information to caregivers. We have only a certain amount of hospital beds. We're trying to encourage Eat, Sleep, Console for babies born substance exposed, which includes rooming in with the parents. And if we don't have enough space, then parents can't room in. And that's ultimately been proven to be the best outcome. So we want to make sure we're able to help that.
Currently, back in August of last legislative session, we passed a piece that would provide support to kids with neonatal abstinence syndrome or substance exposure and their families. So that piece was passed unanimously by the House. And we are trying to get it funded this legislative session. The House unfortunately did not pass it, and now we're looking to our state senator to hopefully be our champion on getting that piece funded. We're really limited. The money that we have is from grant funding. It's from people personally donating to the cause. Our services are primarily here in Mass, but we do, our reach is throughout Massachusetts, but we consistently get asked to provide services in other areas of the state, and we'd really love to be able to provide them, but we need the funding for that. So this conference really is a call to action to get the funding that we need to be able to provide these services for kids and families. Anyone who's interested in, supporting these kids and families can go onto our website, which is www.thethe the number 2, themoonandback.org. We also have Facebook, Twitter presence, Instagram, and there we're at To the Moon MA. And then we also have a private Facebook group for families that are raising children born substance dependent or exposed as well.
Today, we're lucky to have on set Jennifer Matney, a holistic nutritionist from Eat Positive, Be Positive, to give us some healthy tips on eating better for our bodies. Welcome, Jen. It's so good to have you on the
Thank you so much for having me.
So can you tell us the difference between a holistic nutritionist and like a regular kind of nutritionist?
Sure. I actually get this question a lot. Nutrition is really the process by which we nourish and fuel our bodies, right? And holistic nutrition is really the goal of looking at the body as a whole. So when we go to our family doctor or primary care physician, usually if we say I'm having stomach issues, they'll send us to a gastroenterologist. If we're having heart issues, I'm going to send you to a cardiologist. When we look at holistic nutrition, we kind of look at how all of these different organs work in balance in the body, because typically when you find issues in one area, it reverberates in other areas. So we want to make sure the homeostasis of the body actually is in balance all across the board. And holistic nutrition also has the calling card of being very individual to each person. People have different constitutions, they have different cultures, they have different foods they're used to digesting or eating on a regular basis. So it really takes all of that evidence-based information that we have, all of those alternative therapies and all of the individual information to create a very specific personalized plan for people.
There seems to be a lot of a movement to eliminate carbs from diet, the keto, the paleo. So are carbs really the worst thing you could possibly eat, or?
Well, I think people are really turning to some of these more strict diet plans because they're really struggling to focus on building health and feeling good and losing weight on the standard American diet. They're really struggling right now. And paleo and keto, they really focus on carbs, but they also focus on consuming optimal protein and high quality fats. And the key with the keto and the paleo diet is really not removing all carbs, but focusing on a specific subset of carbs. We have 2 different kinds that we talk about regularly. That's complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. And simple carbs refer to refined sugar, sugar in general, processed foods, things you'd find in a box. And some of those foods obviously cause a lot of inflammation and dysbiosis in the body. So individuals who follow the keto and the paleo diet, they're really looking to minimize and/or completely restrict those foods, but they still consume the other carbohydrate, the complex carbs, which is very ubiquitous in the plant kingdom. You know, broccoli, sweet potatoes, all of those things definitely have complex carbs.
So you're saying I can't just eat 3 pounds of bacon and lose weight?
That's exactly right. I mean, you probably wouldn't feel very well either, actually. Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of trends happening in addition to the cleanses. Are cleanses a good thing? Can we actually lose weight and have health benefits from doing a cleanse?
So cleanses are really popular. I think there's a big one right now that's if you consume water with maybe cayenne and lemon, and detoxes are kind of cut from the same cloth. Individuals will consume vegetable juices or fruit juices, and the way that they're marketed to people now in the mainstream popular diet fad essence is really to eliminate the body of toxins. And once you do that, you lose weight like that, it just drips off. And I recommend to people, whether you're doing a cleanse, whether you're doing a detox, or you can even do fasting. Humans have done fasting for millennia now for religious reasons or other reasons, feast and famine, things like that. Really focus on your reason for doing that. Are you punishing your body? Or are you really looking to build health by lowering inflammation, building your heart health? You can actually build your gut health. You can boost your immune system with some of these options. So I recommend people find a good reason to start. I recommend they find a professional, whether that's a medical person or a holistic nutritionist, someone they trust to really move forward with that and know what they're doing. And then you definitely have to have a support group. If you're going to be removing solid foods in any way, you might feel a little crazy at first. You might feel a little cranky. So you definitely need some good friends and loved ones to kind of support you and keep you moving forward. Yeah.
So water, obviously, everyone says you should be drinking 6 to 8. How much water should we be drinking a day? What are the health benefits?
Sure. So water is incredibly important for the body. It actually helps balance our body temperature. It helps to eliminate waste from our bodies, and it also is really important in digesting nutrients. A lot of nutrients are water soluble, so we need that hydration to digest those nutrients and absorb them. Through everyday movement, sweating, urination, and even actually as we breathe out of our nose and our mouths, we lose about 48 ounces of water every single day. So that's the bare minimum in my book, and that's about 6 glasses. And typically people say about 6 to 8. I usually recommend 8 to 12 for optimal water intake. Because I find when I speak to people, they'll say, you know, I think I had 2 yesterday, and I find on average, they're consuming about 16 to 32, so you need some time to kind of drink a little bit more to balance it out.
Are there any specific times that we should be drinking water?
Sure, that's a great question. I usually recommend kind of having a schedule of water intake, because it really helps people remember to drink enough. And you can do maybe 8 ounces of water right when you wake up, 8 ounces of water before and after you work out, before you go to bed. It's also incredibly helpful to drink water before you eat. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes people don't understand that they're actually thirsty instead of hungry, so that can be really helpful. Another one is before and after you shower. If you drink 8 ounces of water or so, it can actually help build your heart health. There are certain detox things that happen when you're showering that can be benefited by consuming water.
Most people think that they can get away with just drinking coffee or tea. Is that true? Can I just drink like an iced tea and still have the same value as just drinking regular water?
That's a great question. I'm really glad you brought that up, because people don't realize that there are certain things that are called diuretics, and maybe they do. Coffee is one, alcohol is one, soda is another big one. And when you consume those diuretic beverages, you actually need to consume more water to balance the budget of those 2 drinks. Because let's say you drink 8 ounces of water and you drink 8 ounces of Coca-Cola, you're going to be then draining yourself right back to 0 hydration. Tea is actually an okay one. Green tea is actually incredibly great for your health. It has a lot of antioxidants. It tastes great. People drink a lot of black tea, which is also good. But I also recommend there that you focus on not adding additional sweetener. That'll be really helpful.
In addition to the liquids, what are some great superfoods you recommend?
Sure. So when we talk about superfoods, we're talking about foods that are nutrient dense. And by that I mean calorie for calorie, pound for pound, you're getting more vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and fiber, all of those good things, those building blocks that our bodies need. And so nutrient dense foods are superfoods, they're whole foods. And superfoods are actually kind of like right at the top of the pyramid of the nutrient density foods. So some of my favorites are nutritional yeast. It's actually a really good source of a wide variety of B vitamins. So it's really good for people who are deficient in B vitamins. It's really good for individuals dealing with inflammation. And it actually, for individuals who choose a vegan lifestyle, it's a really good dairy alternative to get additional vitamins in. Another one is flaxseed, which is incredibly rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which is really good for brain health. It's going to help your gut be able to digest the food that you're consuming. Another one is spirulina or sea vegetables. You can do seaweed, there's kombu or nori, there's kelp. Spirulina is really great because people don't usually like the taste of sea vegetables, which you can put in soups or you can kind of use as a garnish for salads. But spirulina comes in a fine powder that you can add to smoothies, and people don't usually taste it. So it's one of those kind of hidden gems of getting in really nutrient-dense foods without feeling the quote-unquote pain of that. Because some people don't like to choose foods that they're not used to.
What is the difference between good calories and bad calories?
Sure. So there's kind of in American society now, there's a environment around eating that can be kind of toxic, where we're labeling foods as inherently good or inherently bad. And that can be really problematic because if we label soda as inherently bad, and we label, let's say, kale or avocados as inherently good, we start to feel criticism towards ourselves and guilt and shame for choosing inherently bad foods or not choosing enough inherently good foods. And so I try to caution people from labeling things as good for you or bad for you. Instead, I try to say, what are some of the foods that you enjoy that build your health? They have good nutrient density. You feel good when you eat them. You don't feel drained or tired or bloated. And they're really giving you more bang for your buck. Those are going to be the foods. If you can eat those foods 80% of the time, you're doing something really great for your health. And if you're already at 80%, try jumping it up to 85 or 90. But there is an understanding that some calories are different than others. They process differently in our bodies. So in that case, there are negative health repercussions for some foods, absolutely.
Well, this is some great information. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Information and links to stories can be found on our website, packtv.org. PCN is also available on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, so please be sure to follow us there. Have a great week.